Over to you, Shalini ma'am.
A very warm good morning to one and all. Very pleasant morning to all of you. If you want to be a writer, you must do things above all others, read a lot and write a lot. So with these words, I, Dr. Shalini Mathur, on behalf of Department of Humanities, IPS Academy, welcome you all for today's session of our Expert Talk series on language and life skills. Today's talk is on effective writing skills, and we have Dr. Malavika Sharma with us as expert speaker for this session. The topic for to talk is metacognitive strategies for effective writing. Welcome, ma'am, virtually to our institute. Writing effectively is
Malvika
becoming.
ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I will. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, most welcome, ma'am. Writing effectively is becoming challenging for most of us, especially for students. It is normally believed that being a good writer is 3% talent and 97% not being distracted by the internet, and which is very challenging for everyone in present time. But at the same time, we all know that effective writing skills opens up various opportunities for us in our professional journey, whether it is a letter, report, or any formal document. Apart from reasonably good command over grammar and vocabulary, few things such as coherence and cohesion, to name a few, are in fact quite essential to know to write effectively. Malavika ma'am will be sharing various strategies to make our writing effective and unlock the door of successful career ahead. Now, I invite Dr. Shalu Manuja to introduce our speaker. But before I hand over this mic to ma'am, I would like to share few important things with all the participants. That and this is that there will be a feedback link posted at the end of talk. You will get certificate of participation after filling that link. The link will remain open till 2 p.m. Please keep your mic muted throughout the talk, and you can pose your queries to ma'am after the talk. Now I request Shalu ma'am to familiarize our speaker to the audience. Over to you, Shalu ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving an opportunity to introduce such an eminent person. We have with us, as you all know, Dr. Malavika Sharma. She is a great researcher and an eminent faculty in the Department of Applied Sciences and Humanities in Pillai College of Engineering. She has 27 years of experience, and she is an ELT trainer who enjoys designing activities and focuses on the development of the 4 basic language skills. As we all know, basic language skills are very important, that is LSRW. She enjoys that teaching that all skills. Her research is deeply rooted in game-based learning and metacognitive process that transcend the bodies of mere entertainment and fun. She did her bachelor's from Illustrations Wilson College, and she has completed her master's and PhD in applied linguistics from University of Mumbai. She likes to keep herself involved in the multiple ELT projects and also helps to develop or create a classroom atmosphere that is stimulating, encouraging, and adaptive to the varied needs of her students. I would like to invite now Malavika ma'am to enlighten the audience with her thoughts. Ma'am, please.
Good morning, participants. Thank you, Dr. Shalu Madam, for this warm introduction. I would also like to thank Dr. Shalini Madam for giving me this opportunity to interact with you all and also learn in the process. So towards this, I would like to share my screen. So kindly give me a confirmation if my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am. Your screen is visible. Please.
Yes, ma'am. Your screen is visible.
Thank you, ma'am. So today I'll be sharing my views on metacognitive strategies for effective writing. So first I will talk about the objective of my presentation. So here I will introduce the concept of cognition and metacognition, and then I will enable all of you to understand the difference between cognition and metacognition, and then also enhance the concept of cohesion and coherence in writing and help the learners to apply metacognitive strategies in writing. So I would like to differentiate the concept of cognition and metacognition with the help of a pictorial representation. So here we can see in the picture that the cognition is the mental processes involved while writing, whereas metacognition actually involves the thinking process, that is thinking about our cognitive process or thinking about thinking. So let us understand these two concepts in detail. So first we will talk about cognition. So according to the dictionary definition, cognition is the mental action or process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, experience, and the senses. That is, the cognitive process involves the mental processes in order to gain knowledge and comprehension. So there are many processes that is included in order to acquire knowledge. So let us discuss them one by one. The first is the process of perceiving, or it is also called as the process of perception. In this particular process, we acquire information through our sense organs, and then we apply this information in our day-to-day communication with the people in the world. So we learn with the help of our sense organs. Then the next process is recognizing. Recognizing is the ability to gather information from the environment, that is when we observe information around us or the objects around us, and we tend to acquire information from what we see around us. And then the next process is conceptualizing, that is relating the pictures and words to represent other objects. And then of course the process of learning, which is related to the logical thinking development, or to the process of developing our concrete thoughts. This process actually takes place when we try to learn new things from the environment, of course, and we also try to implement this or try to synthesize this information and then integrate this information with a prior knowledge. So having developed this prior knowledge, we'll definitely go on to the next process, that is the process of reasoning, which is also included in the process of thought. Now, the process of thought implies that we are going to use this thought process in order to develop our problem-solving skills. We also tend to develop our the skill of reasoning, and this skill actually helps us to think scientifically, organize information in a systematic order. And then comes the skill of problem solving, or the process of problem solving, whereby we are able to identify a problem and also solve a problem. Then comes the skill of memory, which is one of the most important skill in the cognition, in the development of cognition, and that is the ability to store information and retain that information, and also recall the information when we require to use it in the process of solving a task. And then comes the process of language. The language is the process of communicating with people using the spoken or the written words. And if we are able to communicate effectively, we are able to connect to our environment. That is, we are able to connect with our receivers. So we are able to understand our receivers better, and the receivers also understand us better. So having understood the process of cognition, of how we acquire information, let us now move on to the process of metacognition. So what is metacognition? The word metacognition is derived from the root word meta, which means further or on top of. That is, it is further related to cognition, or it is on top of cognition. That is, it is a higher order skill. Now, there are people who acquire this metacognition skill through their experiences over the years, but it is not a common factor for all of us. We all require to be trained in how to use this metacognitive skills for our own development. So for this, I would definitely, wish that all the educational institutions include this in the curriculum so that the students, they benefit and they learn in the process, and they can use this concept of metacognition in the personal as well as in the professional life. So let us understand the different processes which is involved in metacognition. The first is metacognitive knowledge. Metacognitive knowledge includes the knowledge about the cognitive process, and that is knowledge about the thinking process. So what we think when we write, so we should have the knowledge, and then it also leads to the knowledge about the different approaches for problem solving, the different strategies that is available to us for problem solving, and then which strategies are required in order to solve this particular task, and of course the knowledge of one's strengths and weaknesses. So let us understand with the help of an example. Suppose if a learner has the knowledge about the different strategies for reading a textbook, and he also has the knowledge about how to monitor and check his comprehension as he is reading. So what he will do is he will try to find out his strengths and weaknesses pertaining to the task. Suppose his strength is that he has a fair amount of knowledge about a particular chapter in the textbook, that is his strength, and that he's interested in the topic, so that becomes his motivation. So then what he will do is he will try to implement this particular approach, or he will change his approach. This realization will change his approach of how he deals with the task, or how he approaches the task. That is, he will change his reading speed, or he will change his rate of reading accordingly. So the prior knowledge and of course the understanding or the realization about his strength and the motivation will ultimately lead him to change his approach or style of reading. We can talk of another example. Suppose if a student, is aware of, that multiple choice question requires the knowledge of understanding or determining the correct answer, rather than having knowledge about the entire information or giving knowledge about the entire information. And now the student will therefore, what he will do is, this metacognitive knowledge will actually help him to prepare for his examination in a certain way. So he will try and think of ways how to prepare for the examination without giving much importance to explanation of the information. So having understood metacognitive knowledge, let us understand the next process that is involved in metacognition, that is metacognitive regulation. So once we have understood the cognitive process or the knowledge that is required in order to perform a task, we also need to regulate or control our thought processes so that we are focused in a particular direction. So for this, we need to plan, which will help us in the selection of strategies. The planning is required with respect to the task. So we need to ask ourselves the question as to what is the purpose of the task. The purpose of the task will finally help us to select the strategy. So once the strategy is selected, then we can monitor the strategy so that that will help us in performing the task effectively. So by monitoring, I mean that I should be aware of what is expected from the task. So, and I should be aware that whether I am moving towards my goal. So this awareness will lead either to go ahead with the strategy or to incorporate other strategies in the process so that I can effectively complete the task. After monitoring, once I reach the end product, I need to evaluate the task. That is, I need to assess the task so that before, allowing the readers to read the task. Now, my question arises here as to why do we need to evaluate? Because we all understand that once we complete a task, it is the teacher's duty to evaluate. So why do we need to evaluate? So the answer is we need to evaluate because when someone else points out a mistake or identifies the error in a particular sentence or error in a particular process or error in a particular step, okay, so that identification could be sometimes very humiliating for us, or it could be very embarrassing for us, or sometimes it could hurt our ego, and this could lead to misunderstanding in the process. So, but if we ourselves, we try to find out what could be the mistake, or what steps I have missed out, or what steps I have not incorporated. So therefore, those kind of, knowledge or those kind of awareness can lead us to better learners, because we can retain this information for a longer period of time. And we also, become independent learners in the process. So having understood what are the processes involved in metacognition, let us apply metacognitive knowledge and metacognitive regulation while writing an essay. So I will be writing an essay on the topic, the fruit of your own hard work is the sweetest. Now, once this topic is there, I have to find out about my knowledge about my cognitive process, or knowledge about the different strategies that would help me to complete the task of writing. So I understand that this is one of the strategy that I know of, that I should write down ideas. This is one strategy. The second strategy that I know of is I also need to revise whatever I write. The third strategy that I'm aware of is writing a first draft. And then the other strategy is underlining the main points. The next strategy is making an outline. And of course, the last strategy is that I know of is editing the content. So these are the various strategies that I know of that will help me to write or to approach a particular task pertaining to writing. Now, from this, I have to have a knowledge of the content also. So for that, I need to ask myself the question, what is the purpose of my task? Okay, so here, my purpose is that not only I'm giving information to the readers about the importance of hard work that can lead to success, but also I'm trying to persuade and convince the readers to accept my viewpoint. Why? For that, I will definitely provide them with a lot of evidences, with a lot of data that will definitely help them to be convinced that hard work definitely leads to success. So, and also my main motive, my main purpose is to allow the readers to think about what I have said, to reflect on what I have said, so that they can implement it in their personal and their professional career. So once I've understood what is the content about, what is the purpose of my content, now I can apply the strategy. So, but before that, I need to have knowledge about myself, that is about my personal attributes, or I need to know about my strengths and weaknesses. Now, I can identify my strength first. So if I identify my strength, I know my strength is the ability to use my prior knowledge. So I have my prior knowledge about what is the relevance of hard work. I can even share my own experience. Okay, so then I have a lot of information related to hard work, lot of examples. So this prior knowledge will help me to incorporate or to persuade or convince the readers. So this is my strength. Now, if I want to identify my weakness, I have to think about what is my weakness. I understand that I am not an experienced writer. I am a novice writer. So therefore, I cannot start writing, the first draft immediately. It will not be possible for me. So because I need to go stepwise, I cannot go, directly to write the first draft. So since I am not an experienced writer, so I need to formulate my ideas first before I go on to the first draft. So therefore, having a knowledge of my strengths and weaknesses automatically helps me to select a strategy that will help me to, write it, perform my task effectively. So the strategy that I will select is a combination of the strategies that I'm aware of. So first what I'll do is I will write down the ideas. That is the first strategy I will take. And then I will make an outline of those ideas. And after I make an outline, I will write the first draft. After I write the first draft, I will underline the main points. And after underlining the main points, I will write the second draft, and then I will go for revision and editing. So now let us see how we can do it, implement it, practically implement this process. So first, this is called as the pre-writing strategy. So first we will write down the ideas and then make an outline and then write a first draft. So here, suppose I write down the ideas as well as make an outline of my ideas. So I write the introduction. I write the importance of hard work, the relation of hard work and success, the thesis statement, that is hard work helps us to become extraordinary. Then I go on to the next point, the adverse effects of hard work on health. That is, energy could be drained out. So I will provide data supporting this viewpoint as well. But when I analyze this data, I will indicate that it is overstated. And then I will go to the third point, that is the positive impact of hard work on self-development. So there's a change in approach, that hard work can lead to a person, thinking of new strategies and trying out new things. And then I will conclude by saying the summary of my key points and the value of hard work. And also I will hint on the need for optimism to embrace advantages of hard work. So after I have written down the outline of my ideas, then I will try and write the first draft. So next we move on to the first draft. So in this first draft, I will include ideas like hard work is the most important key to success. Achievements without hard work are impossible. An ideal person can never gain anything if they sit and wait for a better opportunity to come. The person who is working hard is able to gain success and happiness in life. Nothing is easy to be achieved in life without doing any hard work. However, there are people who believe that hard work leads to loss of energy and can therefore have an adverse effect on our health. This attitude is reflected in the youth when they are found to skip their homework and delay the submission of assignments. But this is just another assumption and does not hold true for all. Now, from this first draft, it appears that there are many, places where I need to connect my ideas. And I also need to change my paragraph so that I'm helping the readers to understand the content better. So here I will try and underline the most important points that I can include in my second draft. So the next strategy would be to underline the important points. So while writing strategy will include underlining the main ideas in the rough draft and then writing the second draft. So here I have underlined the main ideas, which I think, they are important for me to incorporate in the second draft. And once I underline these ideas, then I move on to the second draft. So in the second draft, what I do is I begin with a quote. So after understanding that in the first draft, what is missing, maybe if I could have, started with a quote, a quotation, from well-known person, well-known writer, so it would have been more effective. So I start with a quote. Ideas do not work. It is you who has to do the work, as said by Manoj Arora. Hard work, as we all understand, is the most important key to success. Even the talented and the extraordinary people believe in hard work. We have examples of Michelangelo, Charlotte Bronte, Abdul Kalam, Abraham Lincoln, to mention a few. However, there are people who believe that hard work leads to loss of energy and can therefore have an adverse effect on our health. It will damage our creativity and we will be demotivated. But this attitude reflects our laziness, which is clearly evident in the youth who tend to skip homework and delay the submission of assignments. Now, here I find that I have written the second draft, but there is a lot of scope of where I need to revise my content and also edit my content sentence-wise. So the post-writing strategy includes revising your content and as also editing it sentence by sentence. I will just give you an example of 2 sentences. We can proceed with the, you can proceed later with the other sentences. And so here, suppose if I have included a quotation from Manoj Arora, but the way I have put it is not the appropriate manner. So if I write it in this way, writer Manoj Arora in his book, From the Rat Race to Financial Freedom, wrote, "Ideas do not work. It is you who has to do the work." This becomes more effective because moreover, I am acknowledging from where I have taken the quote or from where I have taken the content. So therefore, that becomes very essential. The acknowledging part is essential while writing, and also it definitely gives credibility to our work. So, so this is important, and then I will relate it to the quote. I will relate my next sentence to the quote by saying like this: hard work is doing work very seriously by putting the maximum needed efforts. And in this way, I will continue to edit each sentence that I have written in my second draft so as to make it perfect, and thereby I will then share it with my readers who can read and have a better understanding of my thought processes. Having understood the relevance of how to use the metacognitive knowledge and the metacognitive regulation in our writing, let us now move on to the characteristics of effective writing. So for effective writing, every writer should have a defined purpose. I already told you, so any task that we are given, we need to identify the purpose so that we have a clear understanding what is expected from the task. So a writer should also define his purpose of writing, whether he is writing in order to entertain the readers, whether he is writing in order to impart information, or whether he is writing just to share his views with the readers. So once this purpose is clear, then the writer can make a definite point related to this purpose, and then he will support that point with specific information. And then, of course, the information is clearly connected and arranged, that is, it is organized. And then, of course, the words that a writer chooses, they are appropriate, they are related to the content. The sentences are concise, they are brief, they are to the point, they are also precise. We also use emphatic words and sentences, and of course the writer has to see to it that all the sentences that he uses, they are grammatically correct without any errors. Now for today's presentation, I will be talking about how we need to organize the information when we are writing. So for this, I will take you to the next slide, that is the concept of cohesion and coherence. So let us understand the concept of cohesion here. Cohesion is the ability to use the grammatical and lexical linking within a text or a sentence. Now, let us understand this with the help of an example. Suppose if I have a sentence like this: perching on a branch, the eagle shrieked. Now, in this particular sentence, we can see that there are different types of words that are used. For example, we have perching, we have branch, we have eagle, we have shrieked, and we also have the preposition, the articles, and the determiner. Now, we want to find out to which category these words belong to. So, perching, branch, eagle, shrieked, they belong to the category of the content words. The content words are words which have meaning even when isolated from the sentence. So if I isolate the word branch from the sentence and I use the word repeatedly, if I say branch, 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 all of you will understand that I am conveying some meaning. But if I similarly with perching, eagle, and shrieked, they can be understood or they have meaning even when isolated from the sentence. So these words are indeed the ones that actually help the readers understand the meaning, or helps the writer convey meaning to the reader. Now let us understand the other types of words, that is the preposition, the article, and the determiner. These words are called as the structural words or even they are called as the grammatical words. Now these words, when they're isolated from the sentence, they do not have any meaning. For example, I might say on, but there is no meaning that is conveyed. It is the meaning is there only when we use it in a sentence. So in fact, the structural words actually helps us to combine two or more content words together. And this combination is called the use of cohesion or the use of cohesive devices. Now, similarly, let us go on to the lexical linking. Lexical linking means linking with the help of words or vocabulary. So the words that the writer uses, they have to be associated with one another. There should be meaning with one another. So if I'm talking about an eagle, so I have to use words in such a way so that the meaning is conveyed over why did the eagle shriek and from where did the eagle shriek. So this is called as the lexical linking. And all this linking actually helps one to hold a text together and gives meaning to the text. So having understood cohesion, let us move on to the next concept, that is coherence. Now, the coherence is related to the logical bridge between words, sentences, and paragraphs. That is, our ideas are connected or organized in a systematic manner so that they flow, they have a continuous flow without a jumping or a break in between. Now, this coherence is possible only with the help of cohesive devices. So when we are writing our ideas, we have to use the cohesive devices correctly so that our ideas are conveyed, in the appropriate manner. So there is a clarity of expression. So let me give you an example. Suppose if I want to write, an outline of a report, okay, so I can start by writing introduction, then I write the background, and I write the thesis statement. And then I'll go to the first topic, and then I'll also provide supporting evidence. I can move further. I can go to the second topic, third topic, and so on. And then at the end, I will come to the conclusion where I will write the summary of what I have written in the entire report. So this is the way, my ideas should flow. Now it is said that coherence is possible only when we use cohesive devices appropriately. But we might have, passages where, all the cohesive devices are used, but there is no coherence. So there is no organization of ideas. In fact, both of them are interdependent, but sometimes, there could be cohesion, but there's a coherence might be missing in the process. Okay, let us understand the cohesive devices used by the writer while writing. So first we will deal with pronouns. As we all know, pronouns actually helps us to, replace a noun. And it is also called a substitution of a noun. Now, the pronouns actually are used so that we can avoid the repetition of a noun. And also, this repetition will finally, lead us to make the text more, the repetition can lead to monotony of a text. But if we try to avoid this repetition, it will be more interesting for the readers to understand. Then, of course, it reduces the wordiness. So when we use a pronoun, it reduces the wordiness of a noun. Otherwise, we keep repeating the noun over and over again. It becomes very boring. The next cohesive device is repetition. Most of the time, you will find the writers repeating a particular word or a particular phrase in a sentence or in a paragraph. This repetition is done in order to emphasize the main point, or this repetition is done in order to draw the attention of the readers towards a particular aspect. So this actually helps in the reader's understanding. So we will talk about all this in greater detail. I will give you examples so that you understand how to use the cohesive device in your writing as well. So anaphoric reference is the next cohesive device. So anaphoric reference refers to when the writer uses certain words in order to help the reader refer back to what he has already said, so that the readers, they are interacting with the writer, and also they are trying to remember or recall the information that was already stated earlier by the writer. So this actually is a tool that enhances the memory. And also we use the definite article the most of the time while using anaphoric reference. Now, the opposite of anaphoric reference is cataphoric reference. The cataphoric reference refers to the information that the writer will be saying in future. So the certain pronouns could be used, certain words could be used that could help, the readers to predict, what information the writer will be giving in the future. So this cataphoric reference actually helps in improving the prediction skills of the reader. Next, now we move on to the concept of the cohesive device of sequencing. The sequencing of cohesive device leads to better understanding. That is, when we list information systematically, then we are actually helping the readers understand the information with much clarity. I will be dealing with examples, of course. Then the last cohesive device that I'll be talking about is the device of omission, which is called as ellipsis. This ellipsis it can be done within a sentence, or it can be done by just omitting a particular word in a sentence. Now, this omission actually results in enhancing the efficiency of the writer, and also the reader's efficiency is also enhanced in understanding the information. The reader becomes more focused if this cohesive device is used. So we'll talk about it, in my slides ahead. So let us now first, understand, each of this cohesive device with the help of an example. So first we will start with the pronoun. So I have this passage over here. I will read out for you. Harry had the best morning Harry had in a long time. Harry was careful to walk a little way apart from the Dursleys so that Dudley and Pierce, as Dudley and Pierce were starting to get bored with the animals by lunchtime, wouldn't fall back on Dudley and Pierce's favorite hobby of hitting Harry. Harry and the Dursleys ate in the zoo restaurant, and when Dudley had a tantrum because Dudley's Knickerbocker Glory didn't have enough ice cream on top, Uncle Vernon bought Dudley another Knickerbocker Glory, and Harry was allowed to finish the first. Harry felt afterward that Harry should have known that the joy was all too good to last. After lunch, Harry and the Dursleys went to the reptile house. The reptile house was cool and dark, with lit windows all along the walls. Behind the glass, all sorts of lizards and snakes were crawling and slithering over bits of wood and stone. Dudley and Pierce wanted to see huge, poisonous cobras and thick, man-crushing pythons. Dudley quickly found the largest snake in the place. The largest snake in the place could have wrapped the largest snake's body twice around Uncle Vernon's car and crashed the car into a trash can. But at the moment, the largest snake in the place did not look in the mood. In fact, the largest snake in the place was fast asleep. Oh my God, I found it rather difficult to read the passage and also understand the passage, because there is so much of repetition of the nouns, and therefore it may be quite difficult to actually understand the main message that is conveyed by the writer. So if I rewrite this passage with the help of pronouns, replacing the nouns with the help of pronouns, it becomes much more easier for us to understand. Let us see what happens when we replace. So if I read it once again, Harry had the best morning he had in a long time. Instead of saying Harry had in a long time, I say he had in a long time. It becomes much easier to understand. Instead of saying Harry was careful to walk a little way apart, I say he was careful to walk a little way apart. So from the Dursleys, so that Dudley and Pierce, who were starting to get bored, instead of saying, so that Dudley and Pierce, as Dudley and Pierce were starting to get bored, okay, that becomes very difficult to understand, to relate it. So I say, who were starting to get bored with the animals by lunchtime wouldn't fall back on their favorite hobby of hitting him. So I use the pronoun him again instead of using Harry. They ate in the zoo restaurant instead of saying Harry and the Dursleys ate in the zoo restaurant. And when Dudley had a tantrum because his Knickerbocker Glory didn't have enough ice cream on top, Uncle Vernon bought him another one, and Harry was allowed to finish the first. Harry felt afterward that he should have known it. Instead of Harry should have known it, I have replaced the word Harry with he. And so after lunch, they went to the reptile house. So instead of saying, Harry and the Dudleys, Dursleys, they went to the reptile house. And here I replace the it, instead of writing the reptile house again, I write it. It was cool and dark in there with lit windows all along the walls. So in this manner, if I replace, the words with the appropriate pronouns, it actually helps me to have a better understanding of the passage. And this understanding will finally lead me to communicate with the writer, interact with the writer in a much better manner. So with this, I would like to share a link with you in the chat box. Please click on the link. You will be directed to a Google form, and I would like you to answer a particular question or complete an activity on the Google that is given in the Google form. So for that, I will give you 10 minutes. So first, let me post the link.
Finished, ma'am.
Okay. So welcome back, participants. So I hope you have got a fair idea of how to replace the nouns with the help of pronouns. So now let us move on to the next cohesive device, that is the use of repetition. As I told you, the use of repetition is used by the writer in order to emphasize a point or in order to draw the reader's attention to a particular aspect in the writing. So I have an example for you here. I have taken these lines from William Shakespeare's famous play of Macbeth. So let me read it out for you. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted pools the way to dusty deaths. Now, in this particular soliloquy of Macbeth, the word tomorrow is repeated thrice. Macbeth repeats the word tomorrow because he is lamenting the death of his wife. And this repetition of the word calls attention to the fact that his wife is no longer has any tomorrow, and that the tomorrow Macbeth has remaining is a repetition of life without her. The rhythm established by the repetition of tomorrow also serves to highlight a sense of futility and mundanity in a word that typically connotes expectation of change or something new. Instead, the repetition of the word renders it meaningless and without promise of hope. Therefore, just as Macbeth has accumulated nothing in his play, his accumulation of tomorrow also represents nothing. Now let us deal with another example. But the hearts of small children are delicate organs. A cruel beginning in this world can twist them into curious shapes. The heart of a hurt child can shrink so that forever afterward it is hard and pitied as a seed of a peach. Or again, the heart of such a child may fester and swell until it is a misery to carry within the body, easily shaped and hurt by the most ordinary things. This is taken from the Ballad of the Sad Cafe by Carson McCullers. Now, in this particular passage, we can understand that there's a repetition of the words heart and child. So this repetition is an effective literary device in that it reinforces for the reader that the heart is vulnerable in children, just as a child is vulnerable. By listing and repeating these words, the writer provides clarity for the readers that what is done to a child will affect their heart and therefore affect their capacity for love and emotion for the remainder of their lives. Through repetition, the writer conveys to the reader that the heart as an organ and a child are subject to the same pain and lasting consequences. So we understand how effective the repetition as a cohesive device could be used by all of us, by all writers. Now let us understand the importance of the next cohesive device, that is anaphoric reference. Now here I have a passage for you. Very often you may find plants of the same species as those that grow so tall in the hedge, growing in the shorter turf away from it, and there only reaching the usual height. This shows us not only that different species are specialized to grow under different conditions, but that even two individual plants of the same species may be growing within a few feet of each other and yet have quite a different appearance owing to the influence of the immediate surroundings. There are many such cases to be seen in the hedgerows. So in this particular passage, you might have observed that I have used the anaphoric reference such cases, which refers to the information that I have already shared earlier, that is the author has already shared earlier. So such cases refers to the plants, okay, the different species of the plants which grow under different conditions. So by using the anaphoric reference, I am allowing the reader to refer back to what has already said by the writer, and this will definitely enable the reader to understand the concept better, the idea better, and it also will enhance the memory of the reader. So now let us move on to the next reference, that is the cataphoric reference, which is the opposite of anaphoric reference. So as I told you, cataphoric reference actually enhances the predicting skills or the prediction skills of the reader. So let us look at it with an example. If you call him, tell Sam to come home as soon as possible. So the word pronoun, the word him or the pronoun him is used, to refer to Sam, but the reference of Sam comes in the next part of the sentence. So the cataphoric reference means the reference which is used in the future. So this helps the reader to predict, the word him stands for which particular character in a novel or which particular character in a play. So this actually enables the reader to be in interaction with the writer as he is reading. Also pay attention, be attentive to what he is reading, and thereby he can also develop his skills of prediction. Let us deal with another example. When he arrived, John noticed that the door was open. So again, I'm using the pronoun he in order to refer to John, which I am writing in the next part of the sentence. So the cataphoric reference, we have understood it is used as a way of writing, as a style of writing, but it is also used to enhance the skills of the readers. Now let us understand the next type of cohesive device, that is sequencing. So as I told you, sequencing actually helps in listing information. We can use words such as first, second. Also, we can use numbering the points, and we can also use the bullet points in order to write in a particular sequence. So this is one example. Suppose, I have written, all these points in the bullet form. Select one of the following delivery options. Define the importance of a message, confirm delivery of a message, change the delivery priority of a mail message, prevent copying or forwarding of a mail message, spell check the message, prevent receipt of out-of-office messages from others, add a mood stamp to a mail message. So when I list information in this manner, it gives clarity to the readers. They can understand the concept better. And of course, they can always remember what has been, listed. Even sequencing is also used when we change paragraphs. Changing of paragraphs is also a cohesive device. So in an appropriate place, if we change the paragraphs, it actually helps the reader to understand that either the writer is indicating that he is going to talk about a different point which related to the earlier point, to the previous point, or it could be something exactly opposite to what he has said earlier. So this changing of paragraph is an important cohesive device, and we need to incorporate it at the right places so that we have a better, we help the readers to understand the content better. Now let us understand the next cohesive device, that is the use of ellipsis. And the ellipsis, as I told you, is omission of a particular word or a phrase in a sentence. So, and I also told you the usefulness of ellipsis, and that it helps, the writer helps the readers to focus only on the particular information that he wants to share, and he feels that the other information is not necessary for the writer to give importance to. Let us understand with the help of an example. Suppose I have a sentence like this: after school, I went to a house which was a few blocks away and then came home. Now, in this particular sentence, the writer can use ellipsis in this manner. After school, I went to her house and then ... and then came home. So which was a few blocks away is omitted. Now this is omitted because the writer feels that it is not essential for the readers to be focused on this part of the sentence. So what is important for the reader to understand, it is after school, I went to her house and then came home. So now let us also understand that the use of ellipsis is done when we are writing a technical article or proposal or report or a research proposal. So at that particular time, when we tend to share our ideas, we have to also give evidence, for what we are saying. And this evidence, most of the time, we gather from, research papers, other researchers, or what are their findings. We tend to incorporate it as evidences. And so when we incorporate their findings, we tend to use ellipsis as a cohesive device, because only that particular aspect which is relevant to our idea will be incorporated as a quotation or as an extract from a research paper. So the other aspect is not included in the process. So we understood the use of the cohesive device ellipsis. Now let us understand the concept of coherence. Coherence, as I already told you, that the parts are well connected. Then at the sentence level also they are connected, and on the whole also they are connected. Now let us understand this with the help of an example. Credit cards are convenient but dangerous. People often get them in order to make large purchases easily without saving up lots of money in advance. This is especially helpful for purchases like cars, kitchen appliances, etc., that you may need to get without delay. However, this convenience comes at a high price: interest rates. The more money you put on your credit card, the more the bank or the credit union will charge you for that convenience. If you're not careful, credit card debt can quickly break the bank and leave you in a very dire economic circumstances. Now, in this passage, the writer has used the cohesive devices appropriately, and also, there is a flow of ideas. So when we read, we understand what the writer is trying to convey. But at one particular point, we can find out the writer has not given any hint or any clue towards that, towards this aspect. So he is talking about interest rates. Now, interest rates, if the concept is not clear to the readers of what are interest rates, the readers might find that the paragraph is not coherent, as the writer does not give any hint or clue. If a reader is familiar with the concept of interest rates, for him the passage is absolutely coherent. So he is able to understand what the writer is trying to convey. Now, sometimes, we have to also understand the writer, tends to visualize the reader and make certain assumptions about the reader. So therefore, sometimes he also, tries to allow the readers, to make certain predictions or use, information, try to gather information on their own, because it may not be possible for the writer to always, cater to the needs of the readers. So similarly, this happens, when we read a passage or read a novel, and there could be, words that we are not familiar with. So maybe the writer has not given a clue or a hint, but then it is the duty of the readers to go and find out more information about that particular word, to understand the meaning of the particular word, and then see how it can be related to the particular context. So therefore, as far as the different types of readers are concerned, some readers will feel that this passage is coherent, some readers will feel that this passage lacks the coherence because the writer has not given any clue to the word interest rates. Now let us now understand what could be the metacognitive strategies in writing. So how could we, think of the strategies, that we need to write, while writing a paragraph or an essay, a technical article, a report, or a research proposal, and so on. First of all, we need to list the strategies that we know of. So listing the strategies are very important, because that will help us to identify or select the particular strategy that will be useful in order to perform the task. Then comes the identify the purpose of the task, which is again a very important aspect. So most of the time we just do the task without trying to find out what is the purpose of the task, or asking ourselves the question, why am I writing this? So it is essential for us to identify the purpose, because that purpose will finally help us to select the strategies that we are aware of. Then select the strategy appropriate for the completion of the task. So, and then we also ask relevant questions while performing the task. Questions like, what do I know about what I'm writing about? And then what do I need to research? So I know I'm writing about something. Is it necessary for me to do further research so that, I get concrete information about the particular topic? And then what do I want to say about what I have learned? So what I have learned, what do I want to say? What do I want to communicate? And of course, the next is my message coming across? And then, are my ideas arranged systematically? Have I used the cohesive devices to link my ideas? And is there a need to revise my sentence construction? Have I changed the paragraphs at the appropriate places? And have I used the punctuation correctly? So all these questions will help us to not only regulate the cognitive process, but also it will help us to have a better knowledge about our cognitive process. And having understood these strategies, so let me now talk to you about the advantages of metacognitive strategies. First advantage is that it leads to lifelong learning. As I told you earlier, the moment we start, learning on our own, we tend to retain that information for a longer period of time. So the moment we start, understanding our thought processes, we are aware of whatever strategies we know about, or we are acquainted with. So we can use, select the strategies that is appropriate for the performance of the task, for the completion of the task. And that could actually lead us to lifelong learning, because we will always retain this information for a longer period of time. And then we also become independent learners. So when we are dependent on the teachers, what happens is, the teachers provides us with notes, the teachers gives us all the information. In the process, we just tend to memorize that information without giving a thought to what we are learning. So this does not help in actually using the strategies or using information to newer situations. So when we learn it on our own, so we can use this, the use of this strategy in a newer situation. And while we are, selecting, the strategies from our knowledge base or from the cognitive process, then we are also trying to come up with new strategies. And these new strategies will actually help us to explore or to try and implement it in newer situations, and that will be more effective for us. Then it enriches the learning process, learning experience, and it, of course, it leads to higher learning, and we definitely solve any problem without any difficulty. We can analyze a problem. For example, the problem could be in the form of a case study. We can analyze the case study. We can have a better idea. We can deal the case study from different perspectives, and that will give us a better understanding of what knowledge we already have, an awareness of the knowledge, and applying that knowledge in such a way so that we are able to complete the task effectively. So having said this, I would like to thank you all for your patient listening. I would also like to say that if you have any difficulty related to metacognitive strategies or how you want to implement the metacognitive strategies, you can write to me in my mail. This is my mail ID. You can also, share your experiences or share your ideas with me in my on my WhatsApp number. And I would also like to share with you that this is my YouTube channel. So where I have incorporated certain games where I have actually given a lot of importance to the concept of reflection, concept of regulating or evaluating or assessing how we can do it. So you can go to my YouTube channel, that is Malavika's Magic is my title of the YouTube channel, and you can click on this subscribe button. You can see the subscribe button over here so that you get notification as and when I upload these games. Thank you once again. I am ready for the questions. If there are any questions, I'm ready to answer.
Yes, anybody?
Students, you can post your queries in the chat.
Yes, anyone, if any student is, am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
If any student is, if any student want to ask something, please go ahead. Any one of you?
Ma'am, may I?
Yeah, sure.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Nutan Shukla. I just want to ask that is it necessary to implement metacognitive strategies each and everywhere if we are writing something or if we are presenting something?
Yes. Can I answer this question?
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, it is essential to implement metacognitive strategies even during before preparation of your presentation, when you're writing something, even in your personal and in your professional life. It is essential because with the help of the knowledge of your understanding or the knowledge of your cognitive process will definitely help you to give a good performance or regulate the performance of your task, and that is very important. Most of the time, we are so much dependent on, the teachers helping us how to, like frame a correct sentence or how to organize our ideas. But if we use a metacognitive knowledge, then we can always, try and learn this on our own. We don't require, somebody to help us. Okay, the teacher can guide us, how to use the metacognitive strategies by allowing us to, ask the appropriate questions that will help us to implement the metacognitive strategies. But it is applicable in all cases.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, any one of you, if any one of you are interested to ask a question to ma'am, because this is a very nice opportunity to discuss your queries. Anybody of you? Okay. Last but not the least, I would like to express my heartfelt thank you to ma'am on behalf of IPS Academy and the Humanities and behalf of the Humanities Department. I would like to say thank you to all my colleagues, participants, and all the great students, those who have participated. And ma'am, thank you very much to sharing your enlightened knowledge with us. That's very nice to listen you. That has given a brain ability exercises to us, how to think, how to draft things, and how to write, and that is related to a little bit of mental exercises that students may think first of all whatever they were doing in a thinking process. That's very nice to listen you, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah, Shalini ma'am say something.
Shalini ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for such a wonderful presentation. It is actually very great learning opportunity for all of us. And what else? I'm also thankful to all the people involved in this activity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And I can see Chunki madam has also joined, so I just can convey my greetings to her as well. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Have more opportunities of this association, and this will have more opportunities of interacting and inviting you, right? So, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye-bye, ma'am. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.